We start with the Super League. What a night we've had. Carvey and Brian are with me, and in the last few moments, statements have followed. We knew already, guys, that Chelsea were going to go, Manchester City, and now we have statements from the other 4 English clubs. Before I get your reaction, guys, I'll quickly read out these statements. Liverpool say this: Liverpool Football Club can confirm that our involvement in proposed plans to form a European Super League has been discontinued. In recent days, the club has received representations from various key stakeholders, both internally and externally, and we would like to thank them for their valuable contributions. That was Liverpool. Seconds later, Manchester United, club statement: Manchester United will not be participating in the European Super League. We have listened carefully to the reaction from our fans, the UK government, and other key stakeholders. We remain committed to working with others across the football community to come up with sustainable solutions to the long-term challenges facing the game. Seconds later, Spurs. We can confirm that we have formally commenced procedures to withdraw from the group developing proposals for European Super League. And then again, within seconds, we heard from Arsenal. As a result of listening to you and the wider football community over recent days, we are withdrawing from the proposed Super League. We made a mistake and we apologise for it. Carvey, Brian, back to you guys. I appreciate we're just receiving these as we speak. Carvey, your thoughts?
Well, look, everybody loves a happy ending. We've got a happy ending. The good guys have won. That is what has happened today. This morning, we woke up to this ludicrous, ridiculous interview from the chairman of this so-called breakaway European Super League, Florentino Perez, saying that he was here to save football, that football was going to be ruined if people didn't sign up and accept his plans for a European Super League. Well, just a few hours later, his plans are in total ruin. They're dead in the water. All the English clubs have pulled out now. And I think it's not enough just for these clubs to release statements and think that everybody is going to forgive them and forget about it. No, a lot of damage has been done. Significant that Arsenal, as you just mentioned, I think are the only club in their statement to have apologised. They actually have come out and said, we made a mistake, we're sorry. I think privately also people at Chelsea have acknowledged that they've made a mistake and they're going to learn from this. But this is not going to be enough. Just releasing a statement, not putting a face out to the public, not giving any interviews, being ashamed of the plans that they cooked up behind closed doors. It is not enough just to release a statement. It is not enough for fans, and it's also not enough for people in the Premier League, in the Football Association, in UEFA, in FIFA, and also the 14 other clubs who have stood united against these plans and had that Premier League meeting this morning. So yes, it is to be welcomed. All football fans will be delighted by this news this evening. But let's not forgive and let's not forget what these people did. And I will just finish by saying, don't blame the clubs. This is not the fault of the 6 clubs. A lot of very, very good people work at these clubs. They were horrified by these plans. They were kept in the dark about these plans. If you're going to blame anyone, blame the owners and the chief executives who dreamt up this ridiculous plan and tried to force it on the game, and ultimately it would have ruined English football, it would have ruined the Premier League, and thankfully it has been stopped. Yeah, because of that there is still a lot of anger, Brian. You know, you're looking at the response on social media, a lot of people are already saying, what next? This can't just go away. The very fabric of football in not only this country but I guess worldwide would have been affected by this. I mean, what's your thoughts this evening?
This has been a farce and a fiasco from start to finish. There's no easy way of sugarcoating this. What we saw on Sunday night sent shockwaves throughout both English and European football. It led to condemnation, it led to anger, it led to frustration. Not one of the 6 Premier League owners or senior executives stepped forwards to give any kind of media interview or speak to the fans to explain their decision. There was a very brief statement issued on behalf of Joel Glazer as part of that statement. And what is going to be fascinating now is to see the internal reaction from within the Premier League to those 6 clubs. Yes, they have now signalled their intention to withdraw. They have now said they will be stepping away after listening and after responding to the supporters. But I was speaking to Richard Bevan, the League Managers Association Chief Executive, a short time ago, and he said that common sense has prevailed with pressure from all, especially the fans in the game, and congratulations to all for their speed in action. He does say, equally, those responsible for this utter shambles must and will be held to account. That's the LMA Chief Executive using the word shambles. This has been a shambles, and it has now been saved by the supporters.
It's just so... I'm looking at everything that's happened over the past 48 hours, guys, and just thinking about the likes of Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola, Jordan Henderson, all the Liverpool players, the guys who've come out at these clubs, because you made the point, don't maybe blame the clubs. They put their jobs on the line by criticising something that was being done obviously at a higher level. I mean, do these guys deserve a lot of credit, and the fans as well?
Of course they do. This, for a long time, a lot of people have been saying one of the problems in English football is that these owners don't understand the game. They don't understand the culture and history of these clubs and of English football as a whole. Fans have been saying this for a long time. Over the past 48 hours, we have seen that what they have been saying is absolutely true. The people who cooked up these plans don't understand English football. They didn't understand, they couldn't get it into their heads that this was not going to be accepted, that nobody in English football was going to accept a closed shop. Nobody was going to accept this from top to bottom. It was a non-runner from the beginning. As Brian has said, it was a farce and fiasco. If they'd spoken to the players, if they'd spoken to the managers, if they'd spoken to the fans, they would have realised that. If they knew some history, if they understood anything about English football and fan culture and the history of these clubs, they would have understood that there was no way this was going to get through. If it was going to get through, I suggest if you want to set up a Super League, then go about it in a different way. It's always going to be controversial, but at least try and set up a Super League with 2 divisions, with 40 clubs, so there's promotion and relegation between the clubs. Try and set up a Super League so there's a Women's Super League set up at the same time. Say that within 3 years we're going to have equal pay for women and male footballers in our Super League. Say that we're going to have, within 3 years, 50% of all the officials are going to be female. We're going to have 40% of all the executives are going to be black and Asian. This is the culture. This is what football supporters care about at the moment. They don't care about this crazy scheme that was dreamt up on Zoom calls by owners who don't come to this country, don't set foot in their stadiums and know nothing about English football. I'll just finish off by saying one of these owners, I was told, an owner of one of these big 6 clubs, went to a game to watch his side, and he was sitting in the director's box and he didn't know what colour shirt his side were playing in that day. He had to ask somebody sitting next to him, which team are we? And that's the owner of one of these clubs. And that just shows you how little they know about English football and how little they know about their clubs. And the one thing they're interested in is making money. And they thought that they'd hit the jackpot with this crazy scheme. And as Brian said, thanks to FIFA, UEFA, supporters, players, managers, journalists, broadcasters, everybody in the media and everybody getting together in the game, they have stopped this in its tracks.
I did that thing today. I was sitting on the train. I was looking at all the teams that have qualified for the Champions League who aren't in this supposed Big 6. You know, you're looking at the Evertons, the Newcastles, Leeds. You look at this season. I mean, Leicester's the great example. A team winning the title, the way they did that. And the look at this season, West Ham flying. Just this idea that these clubs were going to be forgotten about. You understand the pure anger and frustration that football fans were feeling.
the Premier League prides itself on the competitiveness and the unpredictability of the competition. The alarm bells were ringing here when you had Premier League players messaging me in the last couple of days going, what on earth is going on? We've no idea. The clubs haven't told us anything. We don't know what's happening. If that's the players. Then the managers are being put up in front of the media as part of their pre-match news conferences. They are now suddenly being expected, and we're expected to be the mouthpiece for a decision that they didn't make. I go back to the point on accountability and transparency, and that's been the biggest frustration here, is that we have had a seismic proposal, and it was a proposal that we were told the clubs genuinely believed in. They genuinely believed that they could help football in the long run. This 23-year commitment that was going to invest more than 10 billion euros across the football pyramids. Did they really consider and talk it through about the reaction to this? That's what I'd love to know. When this proposal was first agreed, did anyone sit down and think, not sure how this is going to land with the fan base. Can we do this legally? Well, maybe we can. We're being told, yes, there were legal challenges. We saw Madrid courts rule earlier in their favour. But this just doesn't seem to have been thought out and executed in the way that many thought it might have been. So there will be big questions to be answered here. We know that the Premier League had the meeting earlier with 14 of the 20 clubs. If ever there was clear proof of how divided that league was, it was that. We had Richard Scudamore, the former Premier League chief executive, the highly influential figure, was at the Premier League offices earlier in the day. You wonder what he's been saying to those clubs. You wonder what has ultimately tipped the balance here. We saw the protests outside Stamford Bridge. We've seen the fan reactions from the own supporters who were meant to be part of this. Now, yes, there will be, I'm sure, a small percentage of people who were quite looking forward and quite excited by the prospect of seeing those 12, 15, 20 teams play each other in a competition in midweek. All we kept hearing was that this was going to be a simple addition to the football calendar. No chance. This was never simple because of all the knock-on effects, the ramifications for FIFA in terms of competitions, internationals, players at home in an England strip thinking, am I going to play at the European Championships? You've got players in the clubs involved going, am I even going to be competing in the Champions League semi-finals or Europa League semi-finals this season? For that reason, it seems to have been very muddled and confused. And when you've got UEFA's president using words like snakes, liars, incredible vocabulary for him. I mean, what a way to describe a fellow football official, a snake. I mean, that if anything sums up the last couple of days, it's that. UEFA felt betrayed. They felt fundamentally undermined by some officials at the top of English football, and they felt that football wasn't shown the respect it deserved. And I'm sure there will now be many people tonight, as we now expect this to fold. I can't see how it's going to continue, given the clubs that are left. But there will be a lot of anger about how it ever came to this.
Yeah, indeed. Brian Carvey, for now, thank you so much. And of course, we'll be covering this story in great depth throughout the night here on Sky Sports News.